All right, everyone, welcome back dito sa discussion natin with Chris Tan. In a previous episode, we discussed about who are the best and worst in his books, and he had kind of a hard time in ranking the best. But in the worst, he was very sure about the ranking. So I don't know. That tells us something about the nature of our politics. But now let's talk about again something probably also personal to you because as a Chinoy, as a proud Chinoy, as a patriotic Filipino. As someone who's very outspoken, who cares about the country clearly, as someone who speaks even better Tagalog than me, not that that's a high bar. Ang tanong ko dito is, how does it feel to be Chinoy nowadays? This is always where, because I have a lot of Chinoy friends. I mean, my first friends in Baguio back in the day were Chinoys. I mean, my first, girlfriend was a Chinoy. I mean, so I always talk to them about, do they feel they're like, between a rock and a hard place? There's the Communist Party of China there, and then there's xenophobia and all of that there. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Chris?
So,
Gusto ang pagiging Chinoy nowadays?
alam mo, no, sa akin, when I grew up talaga, I never really looked at myself as any different than anyone else when it comes to ethnicity. I've always believed, and I've looked at myself as a Filipino. So yung pagka-Chinese ko I've always looked at it as part of being Filipino. Because if you look at naman Filipino culture is a mix of a lot of different cultures. We get a lot of our American influences, Spanish influences, and Chinese influences. And not just that, I bet you, siguro over 50% of the entire Philippine population may halo. May konting Chinese, may konting Spanish, may konting iba't ibang races. And then that's why if you look at Filipinos, we all look different eh. So it's just degrees of which how much Chinese blood do you have or how much Spanish blood do you have? Ikaw, do you have like what are you?
So,
Spanish or just
that's the
what's your
point,
no?
diba? The pure blood, yung purong dugo is complete nonsense, right? I mean, that's proven. Anyone can take a DNA test today that will prove you there's no such thing as a purong dugo, right? You go to any random country, you know that there were 10 different tribes and all that came in. So yeah, I think definitely you got a point there. But the thing kasi I'm asking Chris about this is because the West Philippine Sea issue really puts our Chinoy
Mm.
brothers and sisters in a tough situation, in the sense that you had a senator recently suggesting that the Chinoy should make it clear saan yung kanilang allegiance, which I felt is an offensive question. It's like, obviously they're Chinoys, they're Filipinos, right? More than anything else, right? So
Yeah.
you have that kind of very problematic rhetoric of essentially collective. I won't say collective punishment, but kind of a collective judgment, because Chinoys, just like any Filipino, have diversity of opinion. You can put 10 Chinoys together, that you get 15 different
Yeah.
opinions probably, right? So the idea of like doing a loyalty test and all, I think is just super inappropriate, problematic, and frankly even racist to a certain degree. Although I don't believe in race as
Yeah.
people colloquially understand. How do you approach that? I mean, and when you talk about China, the reason I have no problem with you of someone Chinoy saying things critical of China is because I was based in Taiwan before. I was there in Hong Kong when the protests were there. These were Chinese people against
Yeah.
Communist Party of China. So I have no problem with that. But I think a lot of people are not educated enough to realize that the Chinese civilization, the Chinese people are amazing people of diversity.
Yeah.
Even
So
inside China, if there were freedom, you'll get a
yeah.
lot of different views.
As a matter of fact, I think people mistake kasi and blame the Chinese people for what the Chinese government is doing. It's the government that's an idiot, not the people.
Or the
Uh,
Communist Party specifically. Yeah, yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Under the current leadership, is really trying to expand their empire by what they do, and they're doing it in a very subtle way. They're doing it with money. They're doing it with force. They're doing it, by it's almost like a blackmail how they do it. And when people, I'm actually curious, sino yung senador na yun? I'm just for my own sake lang. Sino yun nagsabi nun?
Yeah, let me double check because I want to make sure. I knew that was raised, but I want to make sure which senators in particular. But I mean, I
I
can say if you look at the rhetoric of some of the top senators,
yeah,
they're I mean, people are openly saying things that have very problematic
yeah,
implications.
no,
Yeah,
yeah, it's okay if I don't want you to misquote anyone.
eh,
But
baka
anyway,
malibal
so
so tayo. But I'll send you
oo
as
nga
soon
eh.
as I get the direct quote. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me I find it amusing more than anything na may mga Filipinos diyan na would say to me, Chinese ka, bakit kinakalaban mo sarili mong lahi? They forget, ethnicity is not your nationality. That's your ethnicity, but that's not your nationality. My nationality is Filipino. And my ethnicity is Filipino Chinese, but my nationality is Filipino. So for people to say that is very ignorant. But again, hindi ako nagagalit sa kanila for saying that. Natatawa na lang ako because I'm just like, oh, do you hear? I think it says more about them than it says about me. Eh. May iba nga dyan nakakatawa, sabihin na saan, bumalik na lang daw ako China. And I'm like, dude, like, well, okay, wait, I'm against what's happening and you're telling me to go back to China. What the heck's wrong with you? There's no logic with any of the discussions. That's why for me, I don't take offense to it. I do look at myself more Filipino than I do see myself as Chinese. I do have a lot of Chinese traditions, especially within my family. And I wish I could speak Chinese, to be honest with you, because it's good lang for commerce. But even when I grew up, I moved to Canada kasi at one point. When people ask me what my nationality is, I would say Filipino, not Chinese. I'm very proud of that. And I actually would, I even joined a Filipino community and a Filipino community and a Filipino Chinese community. So there's two communities there. And no, I've never looked at Filipino as different from me. I look at everyone the same, whether you're Filipino, American, or you're Eurasian, or like worse back. I mean, worse back. Matteo Gudicelli. I mean, look at all these Philippine, but they're Filipinos, di ba? So it's the same.
Yeah,
And that's
Rachel
what I love about the
Blanco, we can
Philippines.
talk about all these people. Yeah, I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
them, they could easily pass us in Latin America now. No, I mean, the reason I'm asking this, Chris, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, there are, though, I mean, I know for a fact there are some folks, I mean, I'm not generalizing, but there are some Chinoys who would rather say they're Chinese when they're abroad, or there's some Chinoys now I know for a fact that, they're so proud of China becoming a global superpower, and they always talk about 100 year of humiliation and stuff like that. I mean, we have some Chinoy friends who, are defending what Duterte was doing. I mean, how do you feel about that? Because
Oh,
there were many Chinoys who supported Duterte, and if you
oh
ask
yeah, yeah.
of them, it had to do with the fact that he wanted better relationship with mainland China. Now, obviously, a lot of that also had to do with business because China is a big market. A lot of big Filipino businessmen are involved in China, so probably ayaw lang nila ng gulo. It's not because they're pro China. But that creates some complicated. I mean, have you had debates with your fellow Chinoys who may have had some different idea on this? Because the reason I'm saying this is I noticed there are like some Chinoy friends whose views on Ukraine war are closer to, let's say, Russia than America, right? Or their views on Gaza and conflict is probably you get what I'm saying, right?
Wow.
Because a lot of people, maybe I know more about your community than yourself, but and then
Well,
the other thing we're looking at, because I was in Singapore the other week and I was talking to our friends in Washington Post among others, and there's this discussion in Singapore about the Chinese language radio and newspapers in Singapore and all, and how they're increasingly towing the Communist Party of China line, right? And
mm,
talking about the motherland and the greater Chinese people, this blurring the distinction between Chinese ethnicity and Chinese nationalism and all of those things, right? So that's a concern in Singapore, and Singapore is a Chinese majority country, so they had to make a $100 million Singaporean Chinese cultural center to distinguish themselves from mainland China. I used to be based
right.
in Taiwan, who have a very different conception of themselves, although they see themselves as Chinese, but Taiwanese Chinese, right? So I mean, I don't know. Do you have you had debates with some folks who may be a little bit more amenable? Because I mean, the reason I'm saying this, Chris, is because marami rin mga kalokohan ng mga kanod sa Pilipinas. Marami rin silang mali, yung mga Western powers. They did a lot of horrible things not only to China, they did to Philippines. I mean, may mga sinasabi si Digong na hindi naman totally wrong. Yung Balangiga, that really happened. They massacred the whole town. It's not like this Western people were like knight in shining armor, really, if you look at the evidence. And even people are surprised why are Filipinos so pro-American when how much is US really helping the Philippines? They're giving 70 billion to Ukraine, 20 billion again to Israel. They're giving barely 1 billion to the Philippines over 10 years. Like, you get what I'm saying, right? So it's not like so I understand if some of our Chinoy brothers and sisters, and not to mention not also the rest, right?
Well,
Who are saying, maybe it's time to be more open to the other rising powers. Na hindi
Right.
lang tayong America, West. I hope you see where I'm coming from. This is not about just the Chinoy community, but that mindset that is gaining
Yeah.
traction around the world.
Alam mo ano, sa akin ano, let's talk I like to look at things and break it down to the most simple thought. The simplest thought is this. I want you to look at what China is doing. Yun lang. What they're doing is aggressive, it's bullying, it is not friendly at all, and it is taking what they want, and because there's bigger power than us, and that is already wrong. Yun lang. By that action alone, I'd rather go with the United States, who's not doing that. Period. So I'm just talking about now. Not talking about the past. I'm talking about now. Yun lang. If you look at it from that perspective, mali ang China, and you'd rather be with the US than with China, because the US isn't going to say, "Oy, Filipino, bawal ka dito." Put their own ships in front of us and say, "You can't fish here." Throw water cannons at us. That's just BS. So, you can say, people have said, "Oh, but the US has done this in the past." But okay, let's just simplify everything. Today, kung meron akong kapitbahay, yung isa, binibigyan ako ng aid, yung isa naman, sinasabi sa akin, hindi ako pwede lumabas sa sarili kong bahay, gago yan. Binubully niya ako. I'm not gonna allow that. Di ba? Yun lang yun eh. That's it.
Yeah.
So people are trying to complicate the issue to make
Mudding
it,
the water. Mudding the
yeah,
water.
yes.
Just to cover for the bullying and all. Exactly. Kuamo, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the problem with the narrative that China is pushing, and I don't know if did you see this? I saw this on X, on Twitter. Nung after the water cannon incident, my God, I got so many Chinese propaganda posts on X that it was literally one after the other, saying that the Chinese is protesting what happened, and that they have expressed restraint, and the Filipino Coast Guard has trespassed in Chinese waters, and we are protecting the rights of talagang ang grabe at ang galing ng ginawa ng China, spreading all that misinformation on all social media the day that video came out of the water cannon blast and
I mean, of
ramming
course,
the
Elon
Filipino
Musk
boat.
has a big Tesla factory in Shanghai, right? Which raises questions about how I mean, this is owned by Elon Musk, right? X, right?
Yep.
So many people, friends in DC and all, are asking serious questions. I mean, is he potentially an influence agent for America, right? I mean, I talked to Henry Kissinger earlier this year, before he turned 100 and all, and I have friends who are saying even Kissinger could be accused of being, like being too pro China, etc. And remember, Kissinger was in Beijing earlier this year, just days after Digong was there. So I want to ask, how do you feel about the whole Digong situation? Digong saying, "I'm Chinese. I mean, I have Chinese blood." I never was able to trace that. He's talking all about this China. I love you. You love me. Protect me. Like,
You know,
what was that? What was that all about for you?
Yeah, I was so embarrassed to be called a Filipino that time, because I watched our president practically beg and kneel and act like the dog of Xi Jinping and the dog of Putin. He was practically kneeling and bowing down to them, and he would look at them as some idols or gods. It was insane, and Duterte, for me, one of the most insane things he did is he made cowardice a trait to aspire for. Huwag tayong lalaban, mamamatay tayong lahat. What the can I swear? Napapamura talaga ako diyan eh. Then people would parrot that thought na tama, wag tayo lumaban. Hayaan na lang natin ng China kasi gusto mo ba ng gera? I'm like,
Yeah,
no, that doesn't mean that if you're gonna speak out against what China is doing, that there's war.
that's
Only a
false
war-free.
choices. False
Yeah.
choices, yan, yeah.
Yeah, and they make it a black and white situation that if I speak out, it means war. No, it doesn't. What the heck, we can converse. There are a lot of diplomatic avenues that can be taken to force China to stop, that we have not even taken yet. Pero I'm glad lang that BBM and his government is doing what they can about that. And that gives me hope na there's sanity in this government.
How important was that to you? The fact that you have Marcos Jr. right now, but he's not doing too bad, at least on the foreign policy front. I mean,
So
is that a confusing thing to you, or for me, it's like common sense lang. And we may disagree on domestic issues, but this is a matter of national interest. Let's support. He's our president after all.
So okay, so again, see, this is the thing about me. I have never been one to hate or love somebody based on who they are, but on what they do and what they represent. So with BBM, I will call out the good, I will also call out the bad. And I know that his interest is pabanguhin yung pangalan ng Marcoses. He is trying to change the legacy of Marcos.
Rehabilitation, yeah.
Absolutely. So from education, and my friend said this to me, he owns a school, he noticed as far back as parang 2001, napansin niya that the books have already been changed, the textbooks have already been changed on how they describe Marcos and the
Speaking of
atrocity. No,
critical thinking,
tinanggal na
yeah.
yung atrocities, lahat yon. So Marcos, I've always looked at as somebody who is trying to improve his image and he's close to a lot of the businessmen. So he listens to the businessmen. Kaya that's why he's creating policies that he believes will bring in more business to the Philippines. Kaya he's pro-America, he's pro fighting for West Philippine Sea because it looks good on him. This is all ego, and he does listen to a lot of the people around him kasi he's enjoying traveling too much. He doesn't want to bother with those details. He says, ikaw na bahala. Basta, if you believe it's good, I trust you. May ganun siya eh. So that's a good thing about him. So I think he's actually harmless. And plus, remember, if you've come from such a low place, anyone else is better than where we came from. It
Zero
was
looks
so
good.
bad.
Zero looks good from -10. It's still
Yes,
2 point up.
exactly.
I'm just saying. I'm
Yep.
just saying. But hopefully we do better than 0 or 5 out of 10, down the road. I'm not saying BBM is 5 or 0, but I'm just saying, like relative comparisons are good, but hopefully we can. But my point is he still has 4 or 5 years there. Maybe even if you were to argue that this is about his family interest, if that makes him more amenable to doing the right thing, then let's push him.
Yeah.
Let's encourage him, right? Might as well. I mean, hindi naman siya, dictador, last time I checked, like his father.
As a matter of fact, well, I'll tell you what I appreciated about BBM. When Percy Lapid got murdered, I was like thinking, will the DOJ secretary go after them? I think we know naman who the mastermind is, eh. And it's not Bantag. He's the middleman. That's why ang tapang ni Bantag to not that he's not in jail, because there's a bigger fish backing him up that people are still afraid of. Okay? So what I appreciated about the Marcos administration was they went after and even identified him. To go that far against a bigger fish says a lot. And I have a lot of respect for the Abaloses because of what they did for Mandaluyong and Ben-Hur, the younger one. The MMDH DILG secretary right now. I think he's doing his job. He's doing it well.
And
I think
former
he's
campaign manager of Marcos.
the former campaign manager of Marcos. And honestly, I think he's just a lot of people around Marcos are trying to do their job. And I appreciate that. So there. So I give them points where I see that they're doing right. But I'll call out what I think they're doing wrong. What I like is how I think now parang nakikita ko na yung Senate and the Congress somehow are able to do their jobs, not always part of the executive direction, not always. Unlike the time of
Yeah.
Duterte, where wala nang co-equal branch of government, judicial disappeared, judicial, legislative, all gone, and it was about to
It's
become
a one-man
it was
rule. Yeah.
practically an authoritarian government.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
And last for this episode, what do you think about the Uniteam breakup? I mean, it's unlike the celebrity breakups, it's not very formalized, but I think we more or less know what's going on. How do you feel about
So
this? Is this a tiger versus eagle, no fences in zoo situation, like inevitable, or really, some people miscalculate, including the former president, thinking he's still so powerful and bashing, the administration, not thinking there'll be a response. He's gonna be schooled. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this was a marriage of convenience at the very start. Marcos knew all along that old man Duterte was against him, saying all these things about him, that he's a drug addict, that he's a weak president, blah blah blah, and all of those things. Marcos knew that, and he never forgot that. He was just waiting for the right time, and honestly, I think that a lot of the people around Marcos don't like Duterte, and they don't like Sara Duterte, because they see how another Duterte can really destroy our economy. Okay, and honestly, I actually don't even maybe I'm ignorant of this, but parang the corruption now is a lot less than what it was during the time of Duterte. And I think that Marcos is not interested in corruption the way Duterte did it for his
Well,
cronies.
does he even need it? I mean, you mentioned something about billions.
Oh, no, no. Okay. So it's this. I think it's this. It's not that I don't, well, at least I'm not seeing it yet. Ano? There's nothing's come out yet. I think he's more interested in spending the money of the government for his travels and lifestyle than he is about just siphoning it off the people. I think he's just more interested in,
Sold na siya
hey,
eh. Sold na siya.
yeah, kasi remember, he already has the billions from his dad.
Exactly, sold na siya eh. Like,
Yeah, he doesn't need it. Pero if he
exactly.
can spend the 10 billion a year on the confidential funds that he has, and then his travels, it's paid by the government, why not? He'll stay in first class hotels and everything. I mean, if he can spend that, with the taxpayers' money, he'll do it because he doesn't see anything wrong with it because there's a budget for it. I think that's it. I think that's pretty much it. The people around him, I'm sure there's still corruption in the Department of Agriculture, especially when he allows the cartels to take over and he doesn't appoint yeah, an agriculture secretary until now.
Aquaculture secretary.
Yeah, and now the
So
agriculture
fake din pala
secretary.
yung diploma. Like, what's with this fake diploma
So
industry? Like,
so ano lang side note, he's actually my batchmate.
sa USD?
No, Savior.
Savior. Oh, no.
So
Wait, you
so
look
he
quite young compared to him. What happened? Like, dude, you don't
yeah.
look like batchmates, man. He looks
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. He's my
real.
batchmate. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No
So,
offense, kay Sek, aquaculture. Ay, culture, sorry.
so,
Wait lang,
but ano,
Maritas mo nga. What, like, Nick, Maritas nga. Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot. How was he as a classmate? Was he a geeky type, like other Savior guys? Was he like math guy, like,
no, no.
or was he makulit like you?
Kiko was part of the parang the groups,
The boys.
may mga gangs yan nung time na yon that pag sinabing savior, sila yung mga siga ng savior.
Eh,
Uh, but
ayun
but
pala eh.
but I've never had an issue with Kiko. I know him. I don't know if he remembers me. But he recognizes me. We're friends. We're friends on Facebook. Ako lang. I just don't think it's a good idea to put somebody with a lot of vested interest in agriculture as the agriculture secretary. Yun lang. He's a very, very wealthy and powerful businessman that can really sway his vested interest in his favor by becoming an agriculture secretary. I hope he doesn't. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but
Nag-divest naman daw siya eh. I mean, nag-divest. I mean, he ticked the boxes naman daw. But you're saying hopefully the conflict of interest doesn't get in the way of him translating his entrepreneurial skills into being a good secretary of agriculture, right? Parang, I mean, that's
yeah, yun lang. I mean, I don't want to say much about him at this point.
Oh,
But I
ayaw
just
mapahamak.
no, it's just ano lang.
Pa-reunion na kayo soon sa Xavier.
I haven't seen him in a while, so but I've seen my batchmates. We had a Christmas reunion just the
Maybe
other
you want to
day.
see him now. I mean, he's a big guy now.
Well, he's always been like, parang being department head was never a big deal more than being he's a billionaire entrepreneur,
Yeah, and he's like head of the International Tuna Association. I mean, it's pretty big. I mean,
yeah,
his profile,
Frabel. Yeah, Frabel is a
big
very big
company.
company.
Yeah,
So, but his family's always been wealthy. They've always been in that business. So,
right. It's a
I just hope that he does okay. Yun lang. I mean, I will always give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Even Duterte, I gave the benefit of the doubt, by the way. It's just that it was just too much. It was just too
yeah.
much insanity. Yeah. So yun.
Well, I gave him two in terms of foreign policy. I mean, I'm all okay with diversifying our foreign relations, not just
Mm.
relying on one superpower. I mean, I'm all for that, but execution matters, intent matters, not only good
So
rhetoric of independent foreign policy.
yeah. So you know what? When you talk about foreign policy when it comes to China, ang nakita kong ginagawa niya, he was playing ball with everyone. Nothing wrong with that. The problem was he was making deals that were not financially beneficial to the Philippines. Yung inutang niya sa China has 10 times higher interest than what Japan and other countries would lend us, 10 times more. Let's say the interest rate Japan was giving us was like a 0.6%.
Yeah.
China was 6%. That's insane. And
Well,
he
except Chris,
allowed that.
nothing came in. Except Chris, we had smart enough people who didn't allow for those nonsense to come. In fact, kaya nga I said it's pledge trap, not debt trap, because
Right.
nothing came in. Hanggang pledge lang. Ang pumasok is Pogo, which even
Oh,
China
yun.
doesn't like. Yun lang pumasok yung
Oh,
Pogo. Whoa, that's crazy.
dude, Pogos. You saw how, oh my God. Like I watch Pogos, these Chinese mafia people, how they treat Filipinos. Ang dami akong narinig na kwento firsthand from people that work in Pogos. May isa, yung isang girl na nagtatrabaho siya sa Pogo. Now, yung boss nila doon, pinapapunta siya sa kwarto, almost raped her. And nung narinig nung gwardiya na kumatok, pinagulpi niya yung gwardiya. And nobody in that building said anything. And these mafia Chinese mafia people, they would hire Filipino mga bodyguards to beat up other Filipinos. What the talagang prostitution, gambling, money laundering,
Kidnapping.
drugs, kidnapping,
Kidnapping, yeah, yeah.
murder, everything because of these pogos. And then people were saying they're bringing in revenue. Hell, their revenue is
They're not paying
crap
taxes,
because
man. They're not
yeah,
paying
may kapalit yan. We're losing a lot of other business because of these pogos. Take them out. We're gonna gain more business,
and the
legit
location,
business.
right? Yung mga location ng Pogos, this could have been investment for startup companies, I don't know, some high-techs,
Yep.
etc. Yeah, exactly.
So
China short. Okay,
yeah.
yes, please go ahead, Chris. Yeah, you want to say something?
And I wanted to say also no, that economically, the problem with the pogos coming in is that it inflated the prices of real estate, that it's now unaffordable for a lot of Filipinos.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
especially
condos
young
out there.
couple.
Yeah, now nobody's inside these condos. People are these Chinese people, the pogos are buying up these properties, or tapos rent is so
Money
high because
laundering.
of them.
Money laundering.
Yeah,
I mean, parking just for money.
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, so
I think
that's the
Philippines, I
problem.
think, has the second highest real estate cost in Southeast Asia, just after Singapore or something like that. Like,
We're getting up there. Yeah, we're
that's
getting up there
crazy.
now.
For a country so poor, a per capita of $4,000, having $1 million properties right and left, not only in
Yep.
CBD. I mean, everywhere is affected. So it's really crazy. You're absolutely right about that. Chris, this was fantastic. I really enjoyed this discussion. I mean, I look forward to discussing even more things. I think we have to put a day separately for the Bitcoin one, because I don't want to rush in. I know gusto mag-dinner lahat ng tao ngayon. Ang dadal kasi natin 1.5 hours, 2 episode pa lang. Usually that's like 3 episodes if with other
Oh
people. Yeah, yeah.
wow.
Yeah, bro, it's 9 p.m. So I'm telling you, right? It's
Oh
9 p.m.
wow. I didn't
So we
realize
went
that.
1.5 hours just for 2 episodes, so I'm gonna chop it into more episodes, because I think this could be 3 or 4 episodes in itself. But let's come back soon, hopefully later this month before the end of the year. Let's have Bitcoin, big discussions about things to look forward to next year, lessons learned. I don't know, some motivational, stoic discussions. No, thank you so much, Kristan. Natutuwa maraming tao sa iyo. Thank you again dun sa mga sumusupport sa atin. Si Ma'am Jocelyn Lumberio, Michael Uy, at isa pang Chinoy yan na kaibigan natin, sumusuporta sa atin, Nonong Raymond, Tara Dagsawai. Ang dami mga questions dito, maraming mga DDS. In-FU tayong dalawa, I mean, FU both. So, ayan, we're Hall of Fame, man. I'm proud of that. Salamat sa mga ka-DDS natin sa YouTube, also attacking us and all. So, the final version of this, folks, will be out soon. And also look for a version of it on Chris Tan's platforms, because this is a joint effort. So it's just a collaborative, non-proprietary intellectual product. Chris, where can people follow you, just in case may mga followers tayo na who haven't come across your illuminating real talk?
So on YouTube, you can follow me there for a lot longer format thoughts. I am Christan. So it's letter I, letter M, Christan with the CHRISTAN. Tapos for short form naman, it's on TikTok. I am Kristan as well. And on Twitter, I am Kristan. On Facebook, it's Coach Kristan. And those are the platforms you can follow
Right,
me
right,
in.
coach. And then what are the things they can look at? Thank you also kay Ma'am Eden Alon. And what are the things that you are what are the things they can look forward to on your pages aside from politics, which obviously is what
So,
we're hearing now. Yeah.
yeah, aside from politics, I really love injecting a lot of societal issues that we're facing in the world and in the Philippines. And also, alam mo, if I can help Filipinos talaga become financially secure, that's really a dream of mine.
Financial
So
literacy.
yeah, financial literacy, and kulang talaga tayo with financial literacy, and
You're
I
pulling your
really
Chinoy, your Chinoy card there. Okay, I'll pull my Ilocano card. Right? Like, let's talk about saving money. It's like,
yeah, yeah. So that's important. And yun na nga, like if they want content that's gonna help them think, provoke thought, and make them better critical thinkers and be more self-aware, follow me on all my channels.
thank you very much, Christian. So maybe they're stay in the country, pa. There's still reason to stay in the country because there are many people who are still enjoying this content. I mean, Chris, I'm optimistic that this is just the beginning of an era, right? Of this kind of
Yeah.
intellectual discussion. It's our fault. We were too busy. We didn't pay attention enough to, these platforms. But now that we're paying attention to the platform, I can see myself, literally analytics and all is showing you that people want this kind of content. So thank you, Chris, for a fantastic collaboration. Looking forward to joining you maybe every other week or so. Hopefully we can make this something more regular. RC. And then we can bring the other
Yeah,
in. Yeah, let's mix it up. I mean, for me, this is the Joe Rogan way. Bring the four guys in, discuss UFC. I'm a mixed martial arts guy. Maybe we can do a UFC
I
kind
love
of
it.
discussion down the road. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
amigo. Have a good day. God bless.
Thank you. All right.
God,
Bye-bye.
mabuhay ka.